you are at home, how many of you may still even be awake, but if you don't catch this live stream, hey, you can catch it on the replay. No big deal, right? I've not been home long myself. We've been out shooting pool tonight. And it's been a long time since I've done that. But we had a blast. We had fun. My problem is I don't shoot pool well unless I'm drinking, and I don't drink anymore. Haven't in several years. So, but it was still fun. We went out to eat first. We went to the old town square. We had barbecue, fries, baked beans, rolls, sweet tea. And we ate ourselves sick before we ever even went to the pool hall. So I'm kind of getting a late start at it. So happy 4th. I'm hearing all these fireworks going off around me. I'm sorry. Happy New Year's. It sounds like the 4th of July in my neighborhood right now. How are all you guys doing? And will y'all let me know if y'all see if my super chats or anything is up and working yet. I don't even know if that's up, available and working yet. I've been waiting for it. If there's even an option for that. When I'm on my phone, it's hard for me to tell any of that stuff. I don't even know if I have my dance party or my bubbles on. There's my bubbles. Okay, I was trying to wait for a few more to get in here, but it is late. Okay, last night I kind of watched and read over that media manager Wells. My take on him attempting to answer questions on Facebook. That man is almost as goofy as Donwells himself. He tries to be funny with a lot of his answers. He deflects in a lot of his answers. And he's not good at either one. He is not a funny man. And he doesn't deflect well. And then he just flat out will not answer the hard, difficult questions. His question 2, well, why does Don and Candace Wells need a PR manager or a media manager instead of a lawyer? Question goes unanswered. It goes unanswered it was almost 24 hours. And then the answer was, well, he helped them through California, and then he stepped back and went back to just being regular social media manager. Well, what are you doing for him on social media? well, really, he's doing nothing for him on social media other than handling the designs on the billboard and the designs on something else. The question was answered, well, sir, can you keep Don off of YouTube drunk and playing his tricks on people, or just plain out making a spectacle of himself? And he went on this several paragraph rant of, well, I try not to stick my nose in their business where I am not wanted. And if I was living the life of those miserable, depressed people, I would probably be drinking and carrying on too. And then he tried to be funny with, besides, all those dogs and cats were happy and well fed and well taken care of. And if the animals, and I never seen them mistreat an animal, and if the animals, and since the animals were well taken care of, I did not see the need to intervene. Had I seen the animals being mistreated, I would have then intervened. Ha ha. Well, that kind of struck me as wrong, because we know that they're being overbred, because he went on to tell how many puppies that one of them had had this year. And then he went on to tell that maybe after this litter that they was going to get that mama dog fixed. Let's hope they do. But overbreeding is the number one cause of diseased animals in the United States. The number two leading cause of diseased animals in the United States is what they call line breeding or relative breeding, inbreeding. It causes everything from eye problems to hip and joint problems to deformity problems to socialization problems to you name it, and it's there. It causes sickly animals. So, in reality, they are doing those animals harm. Just because we're not seeing them drop kick those animals on social media does not mean that those animals are not being abused. They've not had heart and worm preventative. They've not had flea and tick preventative. To me, that's being abused. You've got so many animals that you cannot feed or control the population of. That is a form of animal abuse. But anyway, that is a whole nother ball of wax, I guess you would say. He tries to be funny, and that was a way of deflection to get people onto something else, to get them away from asking more questions. And the question was asked, what have you done to help them on regular social media? Well, Don stays into so much drama. What can one man do to help them along on social media? Exactly, sir. So what service are you really performing for the Wells? Now, I put something in the community tabs last night that I found from Crystal Sims, where she had called the TBI and the Hawkins County Sheriff's Department. Both entities informed her that the Wells were supposed to have liaisons, advocates, and social media managers through the TBI and the Hawkins County Sheriff's Department. Both of these services, or all of these services, have been refused by the Wells. And so they can use advocates like the people we're seeing here around on YouTube and through the church. Why? If there's nothing vicarious going on, why are we not using the liaisons through the sheriff's department? So that piqued my curiosity. And this was a research project that I started back a few months ago, and I kind of let it go at the time. We didn't know much about who the PR person was, other than somebody was there with them in California. So I just kind of let that die, and I set my research to the side. So I had started researching kidnapping victims. And I would ask Google and Alexis these questions. And not just Google, I would change the search engines, whether it be Yahoo, Bing, different search engines. So I'm not just relying on one thing. When JC Dugard came up missing, did her family use PR managers? No. JC Dugard's family hired private attorneys. Okay. When Xavier Harrelson's, when he came up missing, did his family hire media managers? No. His family used liaisons through the police departments. And this went back just as far as I could think, until I got to Elizabeth Smart. Elizabeth Smart has got to be the most well-known kidnapping victim of our time, right? Well, other than John Benet Ramsey. And you would think, with that child being in the entertainment industry from the time that she was born, if I was going to find one that had a Hollywood connection, or that had a media manager, that had a social media manager to help them get through Hollywood and stuff, because they did do a lot of talk shows, they did do a lot of news, they did do a lot of everything. They were bam in your face all the time. No, they did not. John Benet's family hired defense attorneys right off the bat. There was never any media managers. There was never any PR managers. There was never any social media managers. Only the liaisons through the police departments and the defense attorneys that was hired. They did not even hire a PR firm. The only one in history that I have found thus far, other than Summer Wells, is Elizabeth Smart. And if you remember, Elizabeth's dad was trying to come out as gay with the LDS church when she came up missing. And there was a reason that they did not want to let this elder come out nor leave the church when she came up missing. And there's been a lot of things throughout the years that has threw flags about Elizabeth's disappearance. And Elizabeth is the one person that Don quoted to Chris McDonough in the very beginning. And he said that he gave money. He said he gave money to Brian David Mitchell when Elizabeth Smart was missing, during the time that Elizabeth Smart was missing, and that he had dreams that Summer's disappearance was similar to Elizabeth's disappearance. And Brian had left the LDS church to form his own splinter group. And because they used that PR manager / media manager, Elizabeth is one of the, not only one of the most well-known, but she's one of the most well-off young ladies. She has got books, she has got movies, you name it. When she come out from that kidnapping, she was set up for life. Her story was already being written well before she come home. And I find that that is just a little bit fishy. That the connection between the offshoot churches is the only two cases that I can find in history, hers and Summers, that has ever used PR managers or media managers or anything other than an attorney in history. To me, that throws flags. And that is one of the reasons why I am at the church and not looking at a motel room in Knoxville, looking at Don's friends, and why I am looking in the direction that I'm looking. Everybody says, well, why are you harping on all these people? I am not saying that everybody in that church even knows what's going on. I'm saying that it's just a handful of people in that church that knows what's going on. The regular membership probably would never even know it was anything other than a kidnapping. But you think about this. Don and Candace has sent us on wild goose chases and in every other direction except for two. There is only two avenues that has not come out of one of the two of their mouths. One of those avenues is that one of the boys were involved. The other avenue is pointing the finger at one of their church brothers or sisters, or as an entity as a whole. But yet over in Africa, I have found where they've got land deals tied up, and when people dispute the land deals and they want the land back, their kids come up missing. Same church, same people. And when the kids were found, the kids were in pieces. So that's why I am on the church, is I am looking in the direction that they're not sending us on a wild goose chase to go. Sometimes you have to look at what they're not saying. And those are the two avenues that they are not saying. They've said everything else in the world. And either it circles back to Ben Hill, or to the church. And when you look at the church, you have to ask yourself, well, if these people are not hiding something, why do they need all these identities? Why do we find people changing their names? And then ask yourself, well, why does it seem like the police don't want to get involved with this, or the police isn't really doing that much or doing anything? The police seem to be turning a blind eye. And the only answer that I can get to that question is A, there's state employees involved. B, they're making a whole lot of kickback and a whole lot of taxes off of these land sales. And in these small communities where some land has sat stagnant for years and years and years and has not sold, that has not done anything, that's bringing quite a bit of revenue in. To little tiny towns, city, state. And I have found links to realty companies from people that is living on Ben Hill to wrapped all the way up to the big time in that organization. Who said the Wells doesn't own that property that they're living on now? Because according to the land deeds that I have pulled, it shows that Don Wells is the property owner. It's financed now through the bank, but he is the property owner. When you run it through the state of Tennessee, he is the property owner. Quick deed. Oh yeah, she's a big old bulldog. So sometimes when it even gets a little bit hot in here, if I turn the heater on for a minute too long, she overheats quick. She's fat. She's old and overweight. So I would love to know where they're getting their information from, because even when um, those that went down protesting to Tennessee not long ago, they went by the Board of Registrar's office and they picked up a quit claim deed. And a quit claim deed is exactly the kind of deed that it is. So I know that they got the right deed. He does go to court in February. Oh, she hates fireworks. She's okay if she's inside, but I can't even let her out while they're out there doing the fireworks. And you can bet if I'm in here, she is in here. She's never a room away from me, if y'all haven't noticed. She don't go sleep in the next room without me. She is under my feet, no matter where I'm at in the house. She's right up underneath me. If I happen to leave the house and a storm is brewing up, I have to hurry up and get back home, because if it starts thundering and lightning and I'm not home, she gets scared and she'll kind of tear my house up some, looking for me in a place to hide. Oh yeah, she will tear somebody up over me. She loves me. So down there where y'all put the chat in. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that, feeling froggy. Is there like a little dollar sign where a super chat can be sent? Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Because I said as soon as I got to where I started getting in some super chats and stuff, I would take the monetizations down off the videos. I don't know why they didn't put it all in at one time, but the day that the monetization was approved, they was like, the super chats are not approved yet. We'll let you know when it comes to your area. I was like, huh? What? So I was like, okay, well, maybe I have to turn it on the videos for a couple of days or something. So that must have been what it is. So And I had to do that because the newspapers that I was using and stuff, I was viewing so many articles that it was asking me, are you enjoying our content? You only have one article left. So I would have to find another paper, and it wasn't carrying the same content. I've had heck with the trying to find local papers the last couple of days. So I was like, okay, I've got, as bad as I hate to, and I know I said I wasn't, I've got to monetize, or at least be able to take in the super chats. I still don't think that she's deceased in that milk jug pic. Her eyes are still too pink, and around the lips are not blue. Her lips are not blue at all. The only thing that seems like they might be a little bit blue, and that might be from the water temperature, is around her fingers. And I just feel like that picture is staged. I don't know why I feel that way. Thank you. I appreciate that feeling, Froggy. I just feel like it's staged. Something in my heart just tells me that whole picture. I so much appreciate that. That's my first one ever. My first one on the first day of the new year. That is awesome. I remember stuff like that by numbers. I'll always remember I got my first super chat on the first day of the first new year in 2022. Don't worry about it. I wasn't asking you to give. I just wanted to see if it was there yet, because I hadn't got a notification that it was had kicked in or anything. I just didn't I I just want to know if the little thing had finally showed up down there, where if people wanted to give, they could. That's the main thing, is I might live paycheck to paycheck, but my bills are paid before everything else. So if your bills are paid and you don't owe anybody anything, you're good. And the more I look into these people and I find their pagan ways, November 2nd is one of their big celebration days, their festivity days and stuff. Do y'all know that November 2nd also corresponds with the Day of the Dead beliefs, and where, they believe in Mexico? Well, I think every culture in the world has got a Day of the Dead belief. But, where the dead come back for so many out. I'm not sure really how it all works, but they lay out the feasts and the offerings and all that stuff for them. It just happens to fall on the same day. And then we saw that picture of David Dodson, what we thought was dressed like a monk, right? And then if you notice, there's two other guys behind him or beside him dressed like monks too. And from what we learned yesterday from the videos that I posted, that's the priests of Jesus. So I guess that they laughed at us for how many months now because we were all too stupid to know what they were really doing. I guess they got a real good laugh about that. And is that Baptist church that David is going to? Is that Solomon's Baptist? Does anybody know? I remember when that happened live, Angela, and I was screaming to the top of my lungs, there is a child. I could plainly hear Candace, and I could plainly hear her talking to a child, and I could hear the child talking back. And I kept saying, there is a child in that, there is a child in that, while it was happening live. And Cher kept saying, no, that's just Candace, that's just Candace. Well, only if Candace has the ability to produce two separate voices going simultaneously. I believe it was a child. I think this is going to either come out to being either all for money, all for notoriety. I would be willing to bet that at the least the church is funneling the money through to make it non-taxable donations where they never have to pay taxes on any of the GoFundMe money or taxes on any donations that they receive, private or otherwise. And that could be one way the church is participating that nobody's even thought about, is just washing the money. They had 79,000 houses in the Houston, San Antonio, Austin, just right around there in that area of Texas alone for rent or for sale. I've not checked all over the United States. This was just yesterday's research. But just in Texas, it seemed like it was like 79,000 and some odd pieces of property. That they were mainly renting out. And I have found that some of these churches carry the not-for-profit status, but the majority of them carry a for-profit, a church for-profit status. I didn't realize that there was such a thing in America. I thought that churches carried like that 501c3 status to where everything was not for profit. I did not realize that churches could buy theme parks and make profits off of them. I mean, I guess I had just not spent that much time thinking about that. I mean, I knew organized religion was getting bad. SDA is a shoot off of Latter-day Saints. Ooh, tell me more about that. That sounds like something that needs to be researched. Didn't know that Robin run one of those. How would I go about finding that? Oh, Missing and Not Forgotten. I'll watch it and see, but y'all realize on her channel there's about 90% of things that she puts on there that's not above board or in the past. Like the kids that she was claiming with Summer that was grown women. But I'll check it out. Oh, I think Candace has been beat down too. I also think that when she shaved Summer's head, that Dawn in turn turned around and grabbed a pair of clippers and shaved her head down. And that's the order I think that it happened in. But that's just my opinion, and I can't prove that one way or the other. I have too, Froggy. I've seen him smack her in the middle of lives too when he thought that the camera was down. But at the same time, she gives him 40 kinds of hell plus 10. So I really think that it goes both ways at times. And for some reason, I have a feeling that fighting Candace would be about like fighting a grown man. So I think once it's on, it's on. I've been in enough of those households, and it's not always 90% of the 95% of the time it is the woman that we're bringing out. But there's 5 or better% of the time that it's the other way around, that we're dragging the man out for medical treatment. I remember as a little girl, and my grandmother, she was not a violent type. She was a church going little lady, and she wasn't but 4 foot tall, but she's a stout little woman. And my grandpa had been taking the horses and going to town, and town was a long way back then. You know, he'd load up the horse and buggy, and she had noticed him stopping down at one of the widow lady's house, and she asked him what he was doing down there, and he said, well, I was just being neighborly, and I stopped to see if she needed some coffee or stuff like that from town. She said, I beg you not to go back down there anymore. Well, my grandpa didn't listen. And the next month, he was on his way to town, and she looked down there and she seen the wagon pulled in down there at the widow woman's house. She said she did not say a word, didn't say a thing. But when he walked back through the door, he brought in the groceries, brought the boxes in, stacked them down, sat down in his rocking chair, and she said she walked up behind him with one of those little cast iron small cornbread pans, and she whopped him in the back of the head with that cornbread pan. And you know, the next 70 years must have been mighty peaceful, because I never seen an argument between my grandparents. I never seen them have a crossword between them. Every time she told him to do something, he would say, yes, ma'am. And if she asked him not to do something, he'd say, yes, ma'am. And it was a, a peaceful kind of living thing. But now, I'm not saying I agreed with it, but I remember her telling that story more than once about how she trained him down. And I guess she told it to each one of us before we ever got married. She'd say, now sometimes, and I think we all got one of those little old bitty cornbread cookers, the little 10-inch cornbread cookers, when we got married. But he'd go out and he'd plow the fields every day, and he'd come in, he'd sit in his chair, and he never was argumentative or anything after that. Right. Happy New Year's, everybody. Let's hope that this next one, we do not have any missing kids to have to look for. No domestic situations that lead to missing persons. Or anything that we have had to deal with this past year. It has been an extremely rough year. I'm sure he did, Queenie. I, I bet he did say, damn, woman. But it has been a really extremely hard year with all these missing kids. And the few that we found were found deceased, I think. We always kept a shotgun sitting in the corner too. And I've still got an old one that I keep sitting in the corner in the bedroom here. I don't keep it sitting in the living room anymore. I keep it sitting back here in the bedroom. When my kids were still here, I kept it hanging up. Hey, Crystal. And there are, I tell you, creators that are making a fortune from Tennessee and Arkansas off of YouTube that are suspect related or suspects. There's one that popped up out of Arkansas that I believe may be old friends with the grandma, with Summer's grandma. I've not been able to completely put the two together, but I have a pretty strong feeling that here in the next day or two, that's exactly what's going to happen. I can't count on two hands how many creators have fell out of the Beach Creek area. And my call out was never answered as to what her name truly is that keeps trying to keep herself relevant to the investigation. The last conversation that I did have with the police department, one of them told me she's down there 3 times a week though, or she's calling 3 times a week, which tells me she's hunting that reward. She's looking for that reward. So the whole time she's on YouTube trying to convince everybody that she has got something more to tell She's not. She's taking what information that she finds on YouTube and she's trying to take it to him 2 or 3 times a week. Well, just put it this way. If they're in the suspect pool, don't put much credence into what they're saying. And please don't send them your hard-earned money. What about Jody Sue? Let me pull that back up. Jody Sue does certainly keep, since you brought her up, she is one that does definitely keep coming back to interject herself into all this, even when she has nothing more to say. But don't you think that if she had something more to tell, that she would have by now? Just my opinion. But no, Jody Sue's not the only one that lives on that road or in that area that I keep finding pop up. If she knew what happened to Summer and she honestly wanted to get away from that area, I I believe that she would tell it so she could get that reward money, and she would be gone. But I don't think that she's the key to all of this. By no means. Because she's getting to where she can't even remember when the last time it was that she even saw Summer. And I will never forget the way that I felt when at the end of that fundraiser, phone calls started coming in. First, it was Nita, stranded. She didn't have a hotel room. She didn't have this. She didn't have that. And I said in that chat, I said, if y'all give any of this money to Nita, I said, I'm done. And then there was money dropped over into Jody Sue's. Man, why? Why? Why did you just drop $500 over there? I can tell you why. Because that's what she was promised to let her child come forward and speak that night. Because that was the biggest part of the ratings of the whole thing, was the last night, was when Jody Sue let her daughter speak about what her dad said, that or was telling her, or what he had seen, or whatever, however it went. That was the only time we've ever heard the girl really speak. And that had nothing to do with the gift cards that was sent, that had nothing to do with the shirts that was made. That was a whole totally separate deal. And I was under the impression that we did not pay anybody for anything. I do not pay anybody for any interviews, nor will I ever. And in my opinion, neither should any other creator. Because when you start doing that, then you take a bigger chance at fake news being generated for money. More untruths being told. Scott H was one of the first ones that, other than myself, that pointed this out. Well, wait, why are we paying her? Why are we dropping money at her? And now I'm hearing he's back with her. Why? Is it a money thing? KJ. I don't know who KJ is. KJ. Since I've started this part of my research, I really don't watch a lot of other content creators, because for one, I want to keep my research as fresh and true to myself as possible. I don't want to be accused of copying anybody else's. Research or anything. JK. Oh, you mean BK? Like Benny Keys? that's the only person I know that's got a K for a last name. And I really don't have a problem with him other than he's just not my type of creator. That's okay. He does his thing, I do mine. Um, I did watch Part 1 last night or night before. And I do watch Carl over at Enchanted Life Path. Oh, if somebody lost their mama, I'm sorry. I hate to hear that. But as a creator by that name, I don't think I recognize anyone. But anyway, guys, I am fixing to jump off here and take me some night-night medicine. I'm going to take some melatonin and lay down. Since all this firecracker popping stopped, maybe I can take my little doggie outside so she can pee. And if anybody sent super chats, I appreciate that. It will go for subscription services, whether it be InstaCheck or newspaper article or subscriptions. It will not go for anything for my own personal gain. It will go strictly for the needs of this channel and what I need to bring you guys good videos, things like that. As soon as I get up to around the $89 mark, I'm probably going to get one of the little camera things on a tripod so I can make y'all better videos without the shaking and stuff. So that is one thing that I do need and want. So that's one thing I am looking forward to doing with my super chat money. So all right, I love you guys, and I will see y'all sometime tomorrow. Just remember the research that I have done that has led me to say the only other kidnapped person in history to ever use a media manager or a PR manager is Elizabeth Smart, and her dad was trying to come out as gay to the LDS church. They did not want to let him go. He was an elder, blah, 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 blah. And then she was taken by an offshoot member. So, a lot of iffy, griffy things there. So, anyway, love you guys. Y'all have a good night. Be good and make good choices. Love y'all. Bye-bye.